Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I'm here with a layout featuring 5 new stamp sets from Schow, and let me show you what I have here. This one's called My Rainbow, and it is just adorable. This one's called Grow Through It. Lots of florals and leaves and inspirational sentiments. I've already taken this one out of the packaging because I was playing around with it. This one's called Here For It, and I love these phrases and words and those little scribble designs. This one's a floral one, and it's called My Peony. I'm sorry, Lovely Peony. And then this one is a set of alphabets, and these are called Adornant Alphas. And I'm going to try to make a layout using several of these stamps. So I just started filming this, and I thought that I would play around and see what I could do. And I always want to film things in case it turns into something good. And in this case, it turned into a really fun layout. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. Now, I really love these little splotchy shapes here on the Lovely Peony set. And I think you could use these in so many different ways, and I thought I would go kind of random here and just sort of stamp them all close together in little clusters and just see what it looked like. And so I pulled out my Distress Oxides. I'm going to start with pinks, oranges, and yellows, and I want to create sort of a watercolor-ish background. And I just pulled out some thick, smooth white cardstock here. I did not use any gesso. I'm just stamping directly onto it here, and then using a brush and some water to kind of make the edge of each of these shapes sort of bleed into a watercolor look. And this was really easy to do. I am definitely not one that has to have my stamped images perfect. Especially with the Distress Oxides, you know, because they're meant to react with water, and they were perfect for this. So I just started stamping and then brushing on some water and letting the colors sort of run and bleed, and I really like how this turned out. Now, if you look at that stamp set, you can see that there's a really big floral and leaf cluster. I think if you stamped that down, and then you could use these splotches on top of the florals to kind of add some random abstract color to the flowers. I think that would look really cool. And I think also if you're into maybe cheetah print or leopard print, that you could totally make a background using these shapes here for something like that. It's what it reminds me of. But I'm just kind of going random here, and I haven't even chosen a photo. I pulled out a black and white photo to kind of see what it looked like, just for reference. But I have no idea at this point where I'm going to go with this, where a photo would even go, how many photos I'm going to use. I just wanted to start playing around, and so that's what I did here. And I love how this is looking. So you can kind of see there how it would look with a photo on it. And I'm just going to kind of put together this mosaic of shapes using these colors. Now, these colors here all kind of blend together nicely. And it was a little different when I stamped onto wet cardstock versus the dry, but not enough to really ruin the page or make a big difference. I did let that dry, and then I decided to kind of go on with the rainbow idea. So I thought I would come in with some blues and some aquas. So I pulled out some more colors of the Distress Oxides. I think, let me see here, I've got, in the pink and orange section, I've got Seedless Preserves, Picked Raspberry, Spiced Marmalade, and Mustard Seed. And then for the blues here, I've got Broken China and Peacock Feathers. And I'm just doing the same thing that I did earlier. I'm just stamping it down using a brush and some water to kind of make the colors bleed, and then dabbing it up with my paper towels here. And I really like how this is looking. I like how you can still see the shape of the stamped image, but yet the color is still able to kind of run and bleed when I add the water to it. And I think this is really fun to do. This is a great way to make your own background. I don't really do cards, and so I love using stamps on layouts. Now, I did pull out a couple of shimmer sprays in coordinating colors here to just add to the whole watercolor idea. And so I just sprayed that right on top of the design here, added a little bit more water, and just kind of continued to smudge and blend. And I thought about just sticking with the warm colors, but then I decided, you know, I feel like I've been on a rainbow kick lately, just using up so many rainbow colors in so many different things, especially with the Paige Evans Horizon collection being so popular right now. It just screams rainbow. And so using her collection and then using it again in the Hip Kit Club kits, I'm just not sick of the rainbow. So I thought, you know what, let's just continue on with that and make a rainbow color scheme. So I let the blue part dry, and then I went for some green. And this green here wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be up next to that blue. It's a little dark. I think that's Evergreen Bough, I think. And then this is the Citron color. And it works out in the end, but, you know, I always say there's a way to salvage something if you put it down and you don't really like it. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I did wind up adding a lot of water on that section, and you can kind of see where the paper wanted to start to ball up a little bit there. So I just add some more shimmers there, and what I'm going to wind up doing is flipping the layout or the background so the green section is going to be on the left. And I think it dried pretty cool. I like the way it looks. I think it looks kind of like stepping stones, like on a driveway. It could be, you could use this for so many different things. So I decided, since this background was kind of wild and crazy, I would just make this a fun, wild and crazy layout. So I pulled out these 3 photos. I printed kind of small. These are of me and my sister after we did my body pump class one night, and it was probably on a Friday. And whenever there's a Friday night class involved, we always have to take selfies and make kooky sister faces in the mirror just because we can. And so we always do. And these are just some outtakes of us being ridiculous. And I thought that I would go into the Here For It stamp set. And like I said earlier, there are these really fun scribbles. And scribbles are just the definition of wild and crazy because they remind me of my tangled thread obsession. And they just kind of make the perfect addition to a messy, crazy background. And so I thought, everything on this layout, I'm going to kind of focus on being silly and goofy and crazy. So I thought I would kind of just stamp several of these scribbles around each photo, kind of like a border. And you can kind of see it just poking out or peeking out from underneath the photos. And it would just kind of look like you took a pen and scribbled. And I love that. So this is definitely backwards for me. I never add a title this early on, hardly ever, and I hardly ever add a title before I've even glued down my pictures, but I knew right away that Sister Shenanigans was going to be my title, and I knew that Shenanigans was a really long word, so I wanted to play around and make sure I could make that fit before I glued down anything. And those are some really old fabric thickers from my stash, and I mix and matched some lowercase and uppercase together, and then I'm going to stamp the word sister with those Adorn It alphas right above it. And I love how the word Shenanigans fits perfectly in between those 2 photos. And then sister is going to go right above it. Took a break, came back, and started thinking, you know, I really don't want to do a lot of embellishing on this. What if I just continued on with the whole messy factor and just added a lot of thread? So that's what I'm going to do here. And I pulled out matching colors, and I'm going to try to do tone on tone. So I'm going to add pink where the pink is, yellow where the yellow is, blue and green. And I just think that the thread adds to the messy factor. It's kind of like those scribbles. It just adds to the wild and crazy random mess that is the background. And it just adds texture. It adds deeper color. And I love it. So I'm going to pop the photos up with some adhesive foam, and I did add some tissue paper behind the photos because that's all that's going to go behind the photos is just that little messy layer of tissue paper there. It just adds a little something something without being, you know, it's not really a color, so it's not distracting or taking away from anything. And I don't even use any pattern paper on this layout. I did not feel like going through the gazillion pounds of pattern paper that I have scattered around this room. I thought, you don't even need pattern paper. Just go with what you got. So that's what we're going to do here today. And I love making no pattern paper layouts. Now I'm going to go through each of these letters here and glue them down because, you know, things don't stick the older they get. Here's another idea that you could do. I wanted to make embellishments using some of these phrases from the Here For It stamp set. So I pulled out this little sheet of mixed media paper from this little cheap notebook that I have where I do all my practicing. And I'm going to stamp down So Extra and I Freaking Love You. And those are perfect because we were acting so cheesy, and I do love the heck out of my sister. So now what I'm going to do is take a pencil and make speech bubbles out of these. I'm going to just very messily draw a circle around both of these and just sort of add a little speech bubble point there and make these into embellishments. And so yeah, if you don't have embellishments right on hand, or my issue is when I make a background like this from scratch, I tend to not know where to start looking for embellishments, like what's going to match and what's going to go with the theme of this page. I have so much stuff hoarded in this room. Half the time it's just overwhelming, you know, if I don't know what I want to use. And so I thought I'm just going to kind of go minimal here and make some of my own embellishments. And I love how this turned out. Now I'm going to take those two pieces that I made, I'm going to erase the pencil lines, and then I'm going to add a little bit of color to the bottom of them to kind of match the colors of where they're going to go. So the one that says So Extra is going to kind of blend into this little blue section. So I'm going to use those same colors with the Distress Oxides there and just kind of add some little color, a little bit of a painted watercolor look to the bottom of each of these. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the one on the right. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow and orange and the pink. And they're going to stand out, but they're also going to blend in. And I love that. And so I thought about, do I want to put these flat on the background? Do I want to add some foam and raise them up? I wasn't sure, so I just let them dry. And then I knew I had to use this stamp that says yes. I love that because my sister and I, in our text a lot, you know, we'll say yes. And so I thought that was perfect. So I'm going to stamp that directly underneath Shenanigans. And then add some black splatters. I let that dry. Off camera, I did some stitching. It's kind of hard to see here in my light, but I did some blue stitching on the blue section, some pink, some orange, just kind of across the word Shenanigans there to add some pops of color and some texture. And then I'm going to take my black fine tip Sharpie that I journal with and just add a black trace around the edges of these speech bubbles here. And I like the way that makes them pop off the page a little bit more. Now I do have, oh yeah, I did decide to add the adhesive foam behind there. Now here's where I reached into my bin of stuff on my desk. It's just random stuff. These are some puffy heart stickers. I think these are from Pink Fresh Studio that we got in a hip kit months ago, maybe even last year. So I'm going to do tone on tone, do some heart stickers wherever that color is. These are some Me and My Big Idea stickers that I just randomly bought at Michael's probably a year and a half ago. And I just use them randomly whenever they work on a page. That black circle says, hey girl, perfect for this. This pink one says, this happened. And these are colored. They're not clear stickers, but they're very clear and you can still see through them. They're pretty transparent. So I want to keep them true to their colors. So I'm going to make sure that I stick them on white paper first, so they don't blend in with that background. That one says Silly Selfie. And then this one here is another circle and it says, I think it says Love Us. And since I've got a black circle on the left, I'm going to add this one over onto the right. And then all these little phrases. This one says laughing. I think this was a best friends or a good friends type of sticker set. And that one says fun times. Everything just worked. So I'm going to glue all of the little bits and pieces down. and try to decide where I want those, if I do want those. I pulled these from my stash. You probably have these. I think everybody had these at some point. These are, I don't remember the collection, but they're old school Amy Tan. And I'm going to just add the word crazy above sister. And I'm going to do pink and orange to kind of go with the ombre into from pink to orange. And it's very subtle. I love that these alpha stickers are subtle. So you can still kind of see them, but they blend in at the same time, and I love that. So did you have these in your stash also? These are, I think, also Amy Tangerine. They were from a thicker set of foam words, and then I had 2 hearts left. And I add another yes down at the bottom just because one yes isn't enough, so I had to add it again. And then I'm just trying to play around with these other 2 little pieces. Where do I want those to go? I finally decided to stick that one underneath the photo. And then I found one more heart from that Amy Tan set. I'm slowly but surely using up those stickers. Yeah, they're in my whatever is left over bin on my desk. This is one more of the little scribbles that I hadn't used yet, so I'm going to stamp that. It looks like I stitched it, but it's the scribble stamp. Almost done. I'm going to add some lines for journaling, and then I'm going to add my journaling here with my fine tip black Sharpie, and that is going to wrap it up. Almost finished. But yeah, thank you so much to Jen Schow for letting me try out these stamps. There are so many more stamps that I want to use. This is just the first attempt at making a background with her stamps. She did a phenomenal job. I love how this page turned out. It was really fun to make, and I used quite a bit of the stamps, and so but yeah, I still have a lot more to use. But anyway, check out her website. It's CraftyJenSchow.com. Her stamps are amazing. All of these are loaded into her shop, so you will not be disappointed. Her handwriting is amazing, and I hope she makes more because these are awesome. So let me know if you have any questions about any of the stamps or the techniques or anything at all, and I'll be more than happy to answer. But this was a lot of fun to make. It was fun to just make something from scratch and use all these stamps because they're awesome. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you in my next video.